What I was saying really is Cranfield University is a very unique university. It's actually a university, surprisingly, with its own airport, and very few universities anywhere in the world have an airport. The reason for that is the university really was first launched on a site which was it used to be an RAF base just 50 miles north of London. And the reason it was set up back in about the late 40s was that the government really wanted to ensure that all the technology that came from the war years was channeled into UK industry. And so that's really how Cranfield University came into being, and it was called Cranfield College of Aeronautics at that time. The university still is very strong on aerospace, but it's something like a third of what the university does today. And when it was set up, it was also set up as what we call a postgraduate university. So it doesn't deal with the first degrees that you do typically in a university when you come out of school. What we really do are degrees which we call masters, postgraduate degrees such as exec MBAs, Eng.Ds, PhDs. Those are the sort of qualifications that Cranfield produces. And in spite of nobody knowing about Cranfield University, we actually are globally known. We're a global name, but in the very areas, in the specific areas in which we as a university operate. Take bioscience. In bioscience, and as I'm sure Richard might just touch on during his presentation, we are really well known in areas which are operating in that particular sector. Large companies around the world, global companies, really do know a lot about Cranfield University. And the same is true of aerospace. So I'm really just trying to give you a broader feel than really just reading the slides out. But that's typically the areas in which we operate. So science, engineering, and management. And the next slide will just show you the sectors in which we're operating. But for a university, really, you'll see from that funding level of 153 million, which is typically the turnover of the university, it's pretty small compared with the likes of Nottingham, Imperial College, or wherever. But in research and this area of postgraduate education and applied research, and what I mean by that is really research that's getting close to turning into real products and services out in the marketplace, Cranfield is second to none, I would suggest. We've got a very large number of what we call short courses. These are courses that we deliver into people who've chosen a career and they want to continue to develop in their chosen career, such as engineering, science, or whatever. So we put on a lot of short courses, 2, 3 days, 1 week, and that's true pretty well in all of the schools at the university. We've actually got an extremely healthy ratio of teaching staff or academics and researchers compared with the number of students. So for a university to have almost one-to-one is very, very good. But that's because we tend to be very much focused on postgraduate education, as I said, and research. We have 5 schools in the university. They're all really quite unusual in that they are typically multidisciplinary. What I mean by that is, if you go to a typical university, you'll see a department of physics, a department of chemistry, English, or whatever. At Cranfield, what you tend to see in the schools in Cranfield are schools where you have a multidisciplinary group of people. So you have people from lots of different areas of specialism working together in teams. The problem we're talking about today is a typical multidisciplinary problem. It demands really expertise from a very wide audience, a very wide group of people, including people like yourselves sometimes to deal and wrestle with the sort of problems we're talking about. So the 2 schools that you have here today is Cranfield Health, and we have 2 people from Cranfield Health who probably, and Richard, you'll be able to perhaps explain a little more later, and also School of Applied Science. So these 2 schools really are in areas which are very broad in discipline, and I'll allow Richard to say a bit more of Cranfield Health. School of Applied Science does everything from precision engineering, machining mirrors for very large terrestrial telescopes, through to dealing with issues to do with the management of manufacturing. And so it again is a school that tends to reach into a lot of different areas. Waste management is another example of what School of Applied Science does. And then the other schools here in in Cranfield on the main campus, School of Engineering, which is a school that actually still does a lot of what was done in the original days of forming the university, aerospace, but they've moved into other areas of engineering like automotive, oil and gas, and so on. And then we have a very well-known School of Management. So we do business studies, we do exec MBAs, as I've said, and probably one of the best schools of management in Europe. And that's really good for us, because for us wrestling with these sort of problems, we need technical expertise and we need management expertise. And we tend to try our best to bring that together at Cranfield. And then really the last school is actually on a separate site altogether, actually over near Bristol. And that's in defense studies and security studies. So that's looking at some of the issues that, again, we're all wrestling with. Terrorism, how do we manage that threat? So again, for a university to be reaching into some of these areas is very, very unusual. So I think what I'm trying to convey is that you're dealing with a sort of fairly unique institution here at Cranfield. I'm going to stop there, I think, because I've probably said enough. Okay?